I think we're going to try and make sure we wrap up. So
Forward to my bedtime.
we're called to order. Thank you, Karen, for staying up late with us tonight. So we'll start with approval of the January minutes. Has anybody got anything to amend, discuss from that?
We're good.
January 12. All right, so we'll call that approved. We'll do very abbreviated member reports if anyone has anything to report at this point. Again, if it's urgent.
Glenn, super abbreviated. We had Brianna Jones do a speaking event last night. It was excellent. And I'm very embarrassed, especially because Jay Tulin joined the last one, but we also had one on immigration several weeks ago that was also very well received. So that's it.
Great. Yes, no, I saw you sharing those. Please keep doing that. Thank you for your work there. So that's excellent. Katie?
The Willington, Ashford, Mansfield Restorative Justice Team is officially open for referrals for youth diversion. So we are excited. Town Council approved our memorandums of agreement at the end of January. And so that is now officially a part of Mansfield Youth Services collaborative programming with the two other sending youth service bureaus, which is really exciting. And we are also in the stages of setting up and planning for a Celebrate Pride event that we are anticipating to take place on June 10th. So it'll be a Friday in June while schools are still in session. And so we will be looking for lots of town folks to be there, and if Human Rights Commission would like to be there to help out, we would love to have you guys. If EO's GSA would like to be an active role and participant, we would love to have them do that. If they just want to attend and have fun, like, they're welcome to do that too, but we certainly want to invite Amy to invite them into that planning process. We've invited the My Pride group into that planning process, and I have a few kids who are really excited to make some posters to put up at the middle school and start working on a DJ list and some I got introduced to this thing called Blook It that is amazing, and I am obsessed with it. The kids are obsessed with it. It's getting cheers. So I also have a crew of kids in My Pride who are working on a Pride trivia Blook It to happen at the event. So there's lots of cool ideas in progress. It is just in the baby beginning planning stages, but it is happening. It's happening.
That's good.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations, Katie. I know you've been working a long time on this. It's tremendously important, frankly, at this moment. I'm delighted to see it moving forward, and frankly, I'm also delighted by the partnership with the other towns. I think this kind of regional approach is really essential here. So do keep us posted on how we can help. I'm sure that there will be members of the commission that will come out and support in the way you requested, but then additionally, if there's anything else. So thank you. Any other member reports? Yeah, Jane.
Yeah, apropos of tonight's conversation, I'm taking a course called something about whiteness, it's the history of whiteness, and it is one of the best online courses I've ever taken in my life. And the focus is on asking Americans who think of themselves as white to find their ethnic and spiritual roots in Europe, wherever there were. And they have a couple of different caucuses in addition to generic white people and the people who identify with that construct. And one of them is a Jewish caucus, and it's about the complexity of being Jewish and all the families that came here, changed their names and tried to assimilate, and the pain of the people who think they're Jewish, but they're not exactly sure what it means. And I found myself in a very unusual position of being like the 98% Jewish person there, which made me very wise and thoughtful and well-educated. So anyway, that's going on. And it's really uncovering the roots of whiteness in Northern Europe and how we got to where we are. And it's integrated with anti-Semitism and racism as two pillars to support capitalism, and that's really the political angle on it. It's wonderful. So if anybody ever, it's run by Wide Awake, which is an excellent organization. So if anybody ever sees that kind of thing being advertised again, I highly recommend it. I'm learning a tremendous amount. The end.
Great, thank you, Jane. Much appreciated. Any other member reports? I'll just mention one because I didn't actually get it onto the agenda, and I should have, but the town is now officially participating in the Rural Welcoming Initiative, one of about 10 towns across the country, for a national project run by the organization Welcoming America that's designed specifically to support rural communities to become more welcoming of newcomers of all sorts. We are beginning with a coaching session next week, the 15th. Ryan invited me to join that initial call. It's at 3 p.m. But I'm kind of a stand-in for the Human Rights Commission. And if there are others who would be interested in joining that call or to being a part of this Rural Welcoming Initiative cohort that we'll now be running, just let me know. So, and Jane, I see you raised your hand. If I can send you the information on that.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll obviously report back as we learn what's entailed in that initiative. It is, one of the things actually that came out of this commission's recommendations to the town when they sought our advice with respect to the Afghan refugee crisis. So we obviously supported the idea that we should, of course, welcome Afghan refugees, but then went beyond that to suggest that the town had a lot of work it could do to make it more generally welcoming to newcomers. So I think we can count this as a positive impact of our work more broadly. So nice work, folks. Okay. If there are no other member reports, then let's dive into our old business item, which is the annual report activities. As you'll recall, last time we talked about how our annual report that we submitted right before Human Rights Day made its way in by that deadline, but got a little bit buried under the end of the year activities. There wasn't a good way to slot it into the town council's agenda. We didn't really get a chance to kind of brief the town manager's office more thoroughly. And so while it ended up in the communications of town council, they did not have a full discussion of it. And I think there was a feeling that we really wanted to highlight that work, and particularly what we learned from the survey that we did. So I did reach out and talked about a few points with Ryan since our last meeting, and explored a couple of options for continued activities, at least in terms of engaging the town. One would be to get it on the town council's agenda as a discussion item and not simply as a communication. And so we are going to do that for their February 28th meeting. They have one on Monday, but I didn't think we'd be ready to make a presentation or really engage in it. So I asked to defer until the 28th. So it looks like we'll go ahead and we'll get on the agenda for that. And I would hope, and I'll ask now if maybe we could put together a team. In fact, as many of us as can attend that, I think would be good. It should be recognized as the work of all of us, and then to be able to make a short presentation and answer whatever questions the council might have. And the second thing, though, and so we can discuss this all together, was the idea that we could spend some time also with the departments of the town in joining maybe one of the monthly department meetings that are all scheduled for a brief overview of our findings, particularly as they may relate to the areas of responsibility for the town departments. And I've asked Ryan to, help me get a schedule of when those are generally happening, and then, pick a date for us to get on their agenda so that we can highlight the report and more generally what we learned. So would be looking then as well for volunteers from this group who might be able to join that conversation with the town departments. So stop there. Hear what folks have to say.
I'm really happy you decided to pursue that, because I'm getting very frustrated that we know a lot of stuff and nothing's happening. And if we tell the town council, then we're in a much better position to start pushing people to make things happen. So I think this is a wonderful thing. And on the times when I'm available, if you trust me, I will show up. Trust me not to offend anybody. That's what I mean.
I trust that I'm okay with you offending anybody you feel like you need to offend. So,
Yeah, well, if they're throwing tomatoes at me, they won't be throwing them at you.
Exactly, right? I'll let you be the offense magnet.
That's fine.
No,
I've been doing it all
again,
my life.
right? You know,
I'm really pleased that we're going to go to the town council and talk to them. I'm very delighted with that.
Good. Yes.
And I feel similarly to Jane. If my calendar's open, you can count on me to be there. So, and I'm hoping that, you know, and I can't speak for the students here. They'll have to let you know, talk to whoever is driving that night. But I would certainly, they put in a ton of work, and I think it'd be lovely if at least one of them could show up. No pressure, guys. But I think it will be important too for the town council to see that the young people are also involved in this and doing amazing things.
Yes, great point. Monica, are town council meetings back in person anytime soon? Not that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
They're not in person now, and I don't foresee that unless, you know, the governor doesn't allow it anymore.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So Jane and Amy, I'll keep you in the loop as those come along. And Felicia and Derek, I'll keep you in the loop too. Again, no pressure, but I think it would be great for folks to see you there as having contributed. And of course, everybody will know too. And even if you're, you know, not volunteering to speak, you know, just having you there as a part of the Human Rights Commission. I will tell you, you know, I've been in several meetings with Ryan and several presentations. He often repeats how incredibly active the Human Rights Commission has been, and the work that we've all done together, I think is, you know, sometimes a bit startling to the town, having only been around for 2 years, and to be as active and engaged on as many things as we are, I think is, again, something he repeatedly refers to, I think with some pride, which I think is a good thing for us. So that's good. Okay. All right. Well, if that's it, then thank you all for that. We'll keep you briefed, and we'll move forward with each of those items. So on to new business, and for our first item, we have a guest here, Jay Tuen from the Farmington Human Relations Commission. I don't know, Amy, do you want to say anything by way of introduction and the connection here?
I would love to. I wish I had a lot more to say than I do. I met Jay at one of the group statewide meetings online. And I unfortunately missed the last one, but Jay has also been very supportive of the Deliberation Discourse group, and he and I have been in touch through that. And then since I did miss the last one, I saw that there was a flurry of activity going around regarding the issues about to talk about. And so he asked if I could pull some strings to get him here this evening. And as you know, last night at the 11th hour, I was writing to Monica and Glenn and Jane and saying, please, we need to get Jay here. So here he is. It's been lovely to know him for the brief amount of time that I have, and I'm sure he's got some good things to tell us.
Don't hold your breath on that. No, I'm only kidding. Thank you, Amy, for the invite, and Monica for getting me the information, and all of you for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit. So I saw the agenda, And I have this thing about little tidbits, and I kind of will digress, and I will try to make it brief because I know it's late. But I saw that you called this a discussion, and I can't tell you how relieved I am that you're not expecting me to make a presentation, because I'm not a very polished presenter. So the notion of a discussion is really good. At any rate, so I am the chair of the Farmington Human Relations Commission. I'm also one of the coordinators of what Amy was just talking about, a collaborative group of human rights, human relations, and a couple are human rights and relations commissions. There's 15 in the group. We have been meeting. And so I'm here kind of on behalf of that collaborative to talk about what I'm going to talk about. So also, my other little tidbit is I feel kind of a kinship because like many people, I am a UConn grad. I'm not saying when that was because it was a while ago. I turned 70 this summer, so you can probably figure that out. But I also lived, and I don't know if these places exist, but I lived in Woodhaven apartments and I lived in Walden apartments and I lived in stores. I don't know if they even still exist because that's at least 40 years ago, maybe even longer. So so I spent a lot of time up in that area. And my son used to work at UConn, and about 10 years ago, he said, "Dad, you've got to come up here. I want to give you a tour of the campus." And we're driving around the campus, and I thought I was in the Twilight Zone. I didn't know where I was because it's so different from how
Yeah.
it looked in the 70s. And I was like, where am I, Adam? So I did recognize a few points. I lived in Hanks Hall before I moved off campus, so that's still there. But a lot of the campus isn't. Anyway, so to talk about the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance resolution and the hopes of your considering endorsing this and then bringing it forward to your town council. I don't know what you guys know about this, but I'm not really prepared to do a presentation. What I do have is some notes and some bullet points about that. So I don't know if this has been a point of discussion at all, or if you folks are completely in the dark about what this is, other than obviously it's an effort to recognize anti-Semitism. So I don't know if you want me to just say the few things that I had to say. It's kind of brief.
Yeah.
Please do. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. And if there's questions, I'm more than happy to take a shot at answering them. I'm a coordinator. I'm a behind the scenes guy. As I said before, I'm really not a polished presenter, so I'll do the best I can to have you understand what this is about. So this is an effort to not only recognize anti-Semitism, but give some kind of foundation to recognizing it and being able to take action. The resolution, it's a working definition that's not legally binding. That's a real important point to know. And I'm kind of reading off of a script because again, like I said, I'm not really good at presenting. It's a very important statement and tool to define and address what anti-Semitism is. One of the things that's been a struggle and that's been several years in the making that finally got nailed down in 2016 is actually how to define anti-Semitism. And a lot of people don't read. There's a report. I don't really have all the data, but basically there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a great majority of people that don't know what anti-Semitism is, which really kind of floors me. So this resolution is a definition of anti-Semitism by example. I don't know, Amy and Monica, you guys have it. I don't know if you want to show the resolution, if you're able to screen share that for everyone. I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to see that because I just sent it to you this morning.
So I did just email it out to everyone, so
Okay.
it is in their inboxes.
So, so basically this resolution that's been adopted by over 30 countries, several states and many municipalities, it's basically just what I said. It's just a means to define what anti-Semitism and give very specific examples that you guys would probably have to take a look at. There's a long list. It's like a 3-page resolution. We strongly are urging commissions to endorse this and bring it forward to their town council. Like I said before, over 30 countries and many municipalities have adopted it. In Connecticut, South Windsor, the other night, their commission adopted it, and simultaneously Mayor Pendleton of South Windsor brought it forward to the town council, and they adopted it. And just to give you an idea of other members of this collaborative, Hamden is tomorrow night. Next week is the Bloomfield Commission, the Guilford Commission, the Middletown Commission, and then early in March is the West Hartford Commission, the Windsor Commission, and the Farmington Commission is the last on the list because we only meet every 2 months. Our next meeting is March 28th. We're gonna consider that, and hopefully this is gonna start a real movement to have not only the 15 towns in this collaborative, but hopefully many more, consider adopting this and then bringing it forward to the town councilors or whatever form of government you have. I'm not sure that I'm making this clear, but I mean, basically what we're asking people to do, and I don't know if you're prepared to do that tonight, but is to endorse this resolution, which is just like what I said a couple of times. It's just a way to give roots and a definition to anti-Semitism by example, which, once you can define something, then you're able to take action based on that definition. And that's something that, actually doesn't really exist too much. So this is a huge step in the right direction. If we
So Jay, can I ask you? I saw in the email thread just a second ago. So you noted that our mayor has signed on to something as well.
I was looking. I didn't send. Actually, originally, I think I did send the Mayors United Against Anti-Semitism pledge, but I took another look at it.
Okay.
And I did see a number of mayors. I don't know if you have the same mayor from, I don't know when your election stream is, but I did see Mansfield on that list.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe our council has endorsed our mayor to do that at some potential point. So this might not be totally new to them if we brought it.
There's similar things, and a lot of people ask me and I've been asked that many times, what's the difference? The Mayors United Against Anti-Semitism is basically a pledge to, recognize and endorse that anti-Semitism exists. The difference between that and the resolution is actually a definition of anti-Semitism that empowers, maybe empowers isn't exactly the right word, but empowers whoever endorses it to use that as a reference point to take some action. One of the other things that's an issue with anti-Semitism is reporting anti-Semitic acts, which surprisingly enough, like many hate crimes, is things aren't really reported like they should be. So I think this is a step in the right direction to do that. Okay. I'm kind of winging it here, so I apologize.
No, I get it. Yeah, it is. It's clear to me. I don't know if others have questions at this point. Obviously it was not in our packet, so I don't think folks have had a chance to review quite yet. So we might need to have this as a standing item for next time, and people can review and we can discuss further. But while we have you here, based on the conversation, I don't know if folks have questions.
I guess the important thing to note is that this is something that's beginning to take off throughout the communities, at least in this collaborative that I guess I kind of represent.
Yeah. And,
I totally get it. I mean, I know this was just kind of thrust upon you very quickly. So I don't know what I'm expecting, but I wanted to just take I wanted to take a few minutes to kind of just give you some tidbits about that. Unfortunately, Myra Clark Siegel, who really is a polished presenter, and American Jewish Committee was kind of like, I don't know if they're the founders, but they're, really the folks that have been working to really make this thing go. And I made her aware of this meeting, and she had a conflict tonight. So I'll just throw this out. If it is, and I totally get it, if this is something you really kind of need to, to mull over and reconsider and bring this back forward at the next meeting, if it's helpful to you, I can certainly have Myra be available to give you some more information should you need that.
Can I say something?
Please,
Sure.
Jane.
Number one, of course, we're going to endorse it. Number two, we need to think about it so we understand it, not so we object to it.
I get that.
I think it would be very helpful to have somebody explain the complexities of all of this, especially around the issue of an attack on Israel. Is an attack on Israel anti-Semitic, and what are the Israelis doing in the Middle East, and what does that have to do with American Jews? It is so complicated that I get a headache when I even try to think about it, and I have tried to think about it. So if you can get somebody here who can kind of untangle the knot, so we have a clearer understanding of, I mean, like when there is an attack on anything Jewish, like a cemetery, it's automatically a hate crime. That's how it looks to me. It does not look that way to many people, but how can it be anything else? Because when you attack Jews, that's a hate crime. I'm Jewish, by the way. So I think it's complicated to the point of, like I said, giving me a headache. So anybody who could help us understand, especially the issues around Israeli political behavior and American Judaism would be very helpful to me.
Seminar.
Because it's just like, I mean, I can't stand most of the time what Israel is doing in the Middle East, but that has nothing to do with me being Jewish. So I don't know how to untangle that. And if you can help, I'd appreciate it.
I absolutely get that, and that's a great question. And actually, Myra and I have talked a lot about that. And that what you just said is actually, many people have some difficulty with this because of what you just said.
Yeah,
So I totally get that. I do want to just a couple of local examples. Farmington had a Holocaust survivor Zoom meeting that got hacked a couple of years ago. It was never in the news. I brought that out to some people that I know from being involved in the town of Farmington. They didn't know that it even happened. That's very frustrating and surprising. Maybe it's not surprising. And we also had a temple, the Emmanuel Synagogue in West Hartford, had an incident that got a little bit more publicity, but not much. So those are that's not exactly what you're talking about, but those are examples of anti-Semitic acts that don't get the recognition or acknowledgement, because I think a lot of people don't understand it. I hate to say don't take it seriously, but that's actually what I am going to say.
Yeah, well, you're right.
Yeah.
Sadly, that is what I'm going to say.
Do you, Southern Poverty Law Center keeps the hate crime statistics, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because maybe we can get some stuff. I mean, they're constantly sounding the alarm about this.
I can send you, if you want, I can send you the link to the American Jewish Committee's 2021 report on anti-Semitism.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That has a lot of, I should have thought of that. It has a lot of very interesting data.
I
about,
can't,
about Jewish
I would
people's-
imagine it's very underreported. I mean, I can think of, local incidents that have never, I mean, small incidents, it's a joke in high schools when, opposing players say something to a basketball team or whatever, but that kind of stuff is going on all the time. I want to say like Hall in South Windsor a couple of years ago, they started singing the dreidel song. While that's not cruel, it's certainly inappropriate.
I think there was an incident in Cheshire. I think it might have been at a football game, and it was clearly what it was, but I guess the town didn't really do much about it.
I don't know if any of you followed Danvers, Mass, and what's going on up there. I mean, it's weekly, and it continues. The community is not outraged.
Yeah.
The superintendent is still there. It's just very prevalent.
Yeah.
Eddie?
I just have a question with some of the other towns that have adopted this, if they have done any measures, because I know town council had talked to our group after there had been a local incident at Yukon that happened about, do we do a resolution? And to Jane's point, that was in, the midst of this really emerging crisis that had global implications. And we kind of, as a commission, didn't want to do it wrong. And we're looking at how do we acknowledge the importance of acknowledging anti-Semitism and speaking out against it, while also recognizing Islamophobia and how that translates as well, and making sure that there's kind of equity and parallelism to how we recognize these two problems. And I'm just curious if other towns have run into that and found ways to address that, so that it doesn't appear political, but it is a statement about human rights.
The best answer I can give you to that is that list of towns are towns over the next couple of weeks and month that are hopefully gonna move this forward to their respective town governments. I can't answer for South Windsor. What I can tell you was they just adopted it this week. And I know in Myra's presentation, even though this is the definition of anti-Semitism, the American Jewish Committee, I want to say this the right way, works with all the different types of bigotry and hate, and not just anti-Semitism, with whatever communities are interested in participating in their discussions. So I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but that's the best way I can answer it, at least for now.
I think the Anti-Defamation League is another really wonderful organization.
Yeah, and they do a lot. Someone mentioned about students. I think it was you, actually. The Anti-Defamation League, they have a lot of expertise, but their big expertise is education, hate education,
Sure.
with students.
Yeah, and I think kind of going back to what Katie said, I think just reinforcing that there's no place for hate, I think, without having, it's less offensive, right? That if you're not saying, we support this community, I mean, at least you don't get into the political if you're.
Okay, Karen, I'm going to challenge you on that.
Okay.
And I'm sure we can do that because Jews know how to disagree.
I think.
I think we're going to have to make a lot of people very uncomfortable, because I just remembered the name of this course I'm taking. It's called Before We Were White. And it's got a tremendous amount of information in it on anti-Semitism and the history of that. But the thing is that, anti-Semitism is older than racism by a long time.
What?
And so the amount of education that would need, most people see Jews as white people, and therefore anti-Semitism is like, what's your problem? Unless somebody gets killed. That's my opinion. So, I'm even trying to get my mind around how would we approach this. You obviously want to say these things are illegal, these things are inappropriate. But then beyond that, there's got to be do you realize what you just said and what it means and how old it is and how many people died? And the answer is generally no, especially with people who are not aware of history. So, I always do this, and it's probably makes me impossible to work with, but I see the big picture. This is a huge issue because anti-Semitism has been going on since the 3rd century, maybe, of the Common Era.
Greeks,
The Romans
right?
were okay. They weren't so awful. But everybody else since then, it's just been awful. So people need to understand that. And that when then you sing, I have a little dreidel, it's not just a joke.
Right.
It's like calling people ethnic slurs.
Exactly.
And they don't know that. And I don't know how to tell them that, but somehow at some point we need to kind of think about that.
But I think, going back to what Katie said, it's really hard to, and not speak out, not to use anti-Semitism. I mean, Semitic people, doesn't that include Muslims?
It definitely includes Muslims, and if we could hook up with them, that would be really, really good.
You know, and
Yes.
maybe, I mean, there are plenty of Jews who are Islamophobic, and there are plenty of Muslims who are not lovers of Jews, however you want to say that. I don't know, can you say a Muslim is anti-Semitic?
You can say they're anti-Israeli, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it's not even, it's bigger than that. And, you know, I think if, I don't know, maybe I'm just digging a hole here, but I mean, I think the bottom line is we're within our organization, we're against hate, right?
Yep, I think that's good. I have a bumper sticker. That's what it
Then-
says, no
then
hate
it- then
zone.
it
I
must
don't
be
even
true.
remember where I got it.
Yeah. I think the ADL did something at Manchester High, Glenn, when me and I were both there. And I think it was called No Time for Hate or something like that. No Time to Hate. It was
No Place, yeah.
wonderful.
But you actually
they're
said
really
it right
good.
before, no place for hate.
Yeah, that's the,
Okay.
That's one of their programs. It's called No Place.
Yeah, it
for
was really good, really good. And then, you know, Holocaust education is now required. I mean, think about all the generations of kids and families who haven't gone through Holocaust education, you know. And then the Holocaust Museum brings up all of the genocides that are out there. And like our high school kids, our younger kids, like they just don't have this experience. But we've also missed all these people who graduated from school and gone out into the community because it wasn't required education. So I don't know if it's going to solve anything, but it's a start.
Yeah.
I think we can agree that this is very big and we're very interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not, yeah, we're not disagreeing, actually.
I mean, you know, I mean, obviously a town council adopting a human relations or human rights commission, endorsing a resolution, bringing it forward to a town council and having them adopt a resolution is not going to make this go away. But what it might do is, you know, sadly, it's not going to make it go away. But what it might do is, you know, put some clarity on recognizing what an anti-Semitic act is, and
Yeah.
you know, paying
So-
more attention to it than the Zoom attack we had in Farmington last year, and many
Yes.
other. You know, I mean, obviously, what happened in Colleyville a few weeks ago was is horrible. You know, what happened in Pittsburgh and in LA and several other locations. Obviously, get for good reason get I hate to use the word publicity, but that's the only word I can think of. You know,
so, yes. So Jay, thank you for bringing this to us. You've clearly spoken to something that is well within the portfolio of this commission. You've focused our attention, but I think you're also getting a sense that we're a group that thinks things through, and you know, while we could quickly endorse and send it on, we'd be remiss in not making sure we were doing the most we could to have an impact. And I think what you're hearing here is that you know, the resolution will likely make its way out of here, but it might also have lots of other things attached to it that are seeking to address this question, whether that's on the education side, whether it's, you know, connected to our broader work of supporting equity and inclusion and combating racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia more broadly. So, you know, I think we'll probably keep this on our agenda for next week. And if it looks like we could use more advice or counsel, we'll reach out to you and see if, you know, you or some of your colleagues can join us. But, you know, I think
let me know, because I'm sure Myra's made herself available, you know, generally to help any commission,
Great.
Great.
know, give obviously a little bit better and more clear information than I was able to give you.
You did fantastic,
Well,
Jay. You're
whatever.
selling yourself
I mean,
short.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm not so sure that's true, but I appreciate it.
No,
That report, should I send that report to
you
you?
got us working, you know.
Okay, well, that's a good thing.
Exactly.
Do you want me to
So,
send that report to you, or do you want me? Should I?
please,
send
yeah,
it
if you
to
can send it to
everybody?
me and Monica, we'll make sure we get it out to the larger group. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm actually going to bail on you right now.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, it's,
Thank you very much. Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah,
you
and
very
Thank
much
you.
for
Thank
letting me
you.
come. Yep. Take
Okay.
care. Have a good night.
Okay, and if we think it should go on one of the subcommittee agendas as well to consider, town charge perhaps is the one. If this is going to go to the town council, then we can add it to that too, and consider this conversation. So. Okay, we've got two more items, hopefully, which will be relatively efficient. So the next one is a budget request, as we discussed last time. It is budgeting season, and so we had thought we would be proactive in seeking funds to support our activities, given the range of things that we have done and continue to do. And so, in addition to all the other things I talked about with Ryan, I did talk about that. He said essentially, if we're not talking about $50,000, and are looking for modest resources to support some of our activities, it would not need to be in the form of a formal budget request to create a new line item, but rather if we would send him directly an email request with some details about what we're requesting it for and how it would be spent, he would likely then be able to identify existing budget line items under which he could draw resources from us. So to me, that's the best, approach we could hope for, right? We don't have to jump through a lot of hoops here and come up with, extensive rationales or a fine-grained budget. Again, as long as we're being modest in our ask. But so I'm wondering if there could be a group who would be willing to work on developing a budget proposal for our work this year, or if we think we should kick that to each of the subcommittees to come up with their items, and then we'll put those in together. So thoughts on this?
Do you think that the town charge subcommittee would need budget requests, or do you think that it's mostly communications and outreach?
Originally the survey work fell under that, and so there may be some, if we were going to rerun that, and we were thinking about some additional efforts in the design and analysis, there may be, but you're right. I think it would primarily be in the outreach subcommittee. I'm seeing a lot of faded looks here. So
I'm going to speak up again. My budget for my little speakers bureau was $5,000, which was more than I needed. And if we got for education and outreach got asked for $5,000, that could go a long way. So I would say speakers, public dialogues, publicity, like for posters and things like that. I don't think it needs to be real complicated. Like who paid for the stuff that we did at that town fair? We had banners and all that, and somebody needs to pay for it. And if we could get some town money designated for that, that would be good.
Yes, so I think that's right. So maybe Jane, if you could recruit somebody to help you to put together that education and outreach budget with your events at its core, and then a few other items in there. And then,
Esme, I'm recruiting you.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, thank you, Esme. Thank you, Jane.
Okay.
So if you put that together and send it to me, I'll add anything after I think a little bit about whether or not town charge will need anything, and then we'll get that into them.
Okay. Esme, would you put your email in the chat, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, and then the last item here is sustainable CT. Again, why we were starting late today is because the sustainability committee requested a joint meeting of the members of all of the town commissions to talk about the town's efforts to recertify and achieve, silver badge hat, whatever, for this Sustainable CT initiative. And this was originally done 2.5 years ago or so. It has a variety of essentially tasks to be completed across a range of a town's activities, some of which are already happening and ongoing. So it's just a matter of documenting it, some of which are new. One of the elements that's at the core of it is what they call optimizing for equity. It's a single item, but then it's cross-cutting across the others. And so, in our discussions at the meeting, I volunteered the Human Rights Commission to act as a advisor to other groups as they pursue their efforts in a more equitable way. There will be a few items that probably will fall to us generally to fulfill along this scale of optimizing for equity, including an update of our equity statement, which I think we began. I don't remember if it made it all the way out. So we'll want to revisit that. But as long as everybody thinks this is something we should pursue, I'll add it to the town charge subcommittee's agenda. We'll develop it there and bring back the items to this group. All right. I'm taking that echoing silence to be enthusiastic endorsement of everything that's happening. So thank you all. Okay. I think then we're at the end of our regular agenda. We have communications, of which we have none, although somebody did, well,
Yeah, she did.
that's up to, and then reports of subcommittees. I don't know if there's anything pressing either as to report out. Sorry, did I glitch? A little bit. They're telling me my internet's telling me to go to bed. So, okay. Are there any? Essentially, I asked if there were any pressing reports from the subcommittees. I don't think anybody has anything new that's coming out of there yet, but it sounds like we've just queued up a bunch of work for everybody to do. So there soon will be. Okay. And Monica, I know somebody emailed about the link for tonight, but it doesn't look like she arrived.
Yeah, I sent it back out to her. I think everybody got the link again. And then I also added or sent her a private email saying that the meeting was going to start at 8 instead of 7 tonight, but never heard back. So.
All right. Well, we were that close to our first public comment. Well, not first one. We've had others that, like, our first kind of like somebody just reaching out to us and wanting to join, but maybe next time. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, so my Zoom wait time skills always in effect. Thank you, everybody, for joining later than usual. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all you're doing. Again, I just want to reconfirm, like, it is known, it is seen, it is recognized out there. So much appreciation, and we'll see you all soon. Good night.
Good night.